All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited and happy that you joined us today for this live mindset shift meditation. Let's start with some deep breathing so that we can all be relaxed and centered in here. So, we're going to do 4 deep breaths. Right? On your own, I'm going to ask you to put your right hand over your heart and your left hand on your stomach. The idea is as you take these 4 deep breaths, your lower hand, your left hand should be the one that's moving in and out. That way you know that you are breathing deeply. And your top hand should be fairly still. You're getting the air all the way to the bottom of your lungs. And that you know that you are when you are moving your diaphragm to make room for all that air. All right, so we're just going to do 4 deep breaths on our own. Here we go. Try to make each breath a little slower than the last. Relaxing your shoulders as you breathe. And just focusing on the sound of my voice and the experience of breathing in and out. Okay, thank you so much. That's one way to calm our nerves, something that we can do anytime, any place. And I find that it takes usually good 4 deep breaths to start calming our nerves. Anything less than that doesn't quite work, but you are also, in other circumstances, free to breathe longer. And the longer you do, the calmer you will get. So let's start with today's uh, word share, which is Sankofa. Sankofa is one of the Adinkra symbols from the Akan of Ghana. And Sankofa is, I think, the only symbol, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's the only symbol that has 2 symbols for the same word, same meaning. So there's both the bird, which is reaching back to fetch an egg off of its back, and the similar to a heart symbol. Basically, what Sankofa means is to retrieve. Right? That's the literal meaning. But the saying that goes with it, the proverb is, it's not taboo to go back and fetch what you forgot. It's not taboo to go back and fetch what you forgot. Now, this symbol is really meaningful to me. I love Ndinkra symbols and from Ghana, and I used to have a holistic health center called the Sankofa Center, with the idea that for psychology, a lot of what we do is we look back at your past and we grab the wisdom from that and bring it to the present and help you use that wisdom to create a brighter future. This is Women's History Month, and I thought that I would focus in talking about not only my past, but really about my family's past. So I'm going to share the screen again and share my family's past, which my grandmother. Right? My grandmother is going to turn 97 this Sunday. And I'm so excited. We're going to go. Kelly was my best friend here, and my mom, Brenda, MC there. We are all going to go visit her for her birthday, and I'm really excited about it. I just want to share, before I start talking more about her, a little video of one of the last times we went to visit her. In fact, I think this was the last time we went to visit her. You gonna dance with me, girl?
All right, Grandma. Woo!
Yeah.
All right, Grandma. All right, there you go. Show us your moves, Grandma. That's it. Love it.
Dancing.
All right, Grandma.
Need more room.
Okay.
Oh, that's what she did. Oh, okay.
We throw a dance party every time we go visit my grandmother and have so much fun. My grandma was born and raised down south in Danville, Virginia. I think I have all the details correct, but if I have them wrong, my mom is here so she can correct me. But if I remember correctly, she left school in the 11th grade because she had to help out with family. Really, really bright, but didn't get the opportunities that I got to have the education. My grandmother was the person who my aunt Carrie, is that the right aunt, mom? My aunt Carrie was a midwife, and she delivered my mom. And she couldn't read and write. So my grandmother was the one who had to write out the birth certificates. My grandmother was so strong and worked so hard, even though she didn't have the kind of education and opportunities I had. But one of the ways she managed stress was through drinking. That was one of her major stress management skills. And I learned so much about being strong, about being, brilliant, even though she didn't have a formal education. My grandmother could talk about anything and everything, and was and read a lot. But I also started to learn about stress management from her. I realized that at some point in my life, I had to change that, right? That I couldn't use these unhealthy ways that my grandmother and the aunties that raised me, some of whom are not still with us and didn't get to enjoy retirement because they manage stress in unhealthy ways. And that is really what inspires me. It's that wisdom and that experience that my grandmother, my aunties, that so many of our ancestors collectively have had in struggling. That wisdom, bringing it to the present, is what inspires me to do things like this meeting, to do things like creating the Sister Peace program to help people manage stress in healthier ways so that we can enjoy our retirement, so that we can live healthy lives, so that we don't have the stress ravaging our bodies and our minds. I love to open it up now and hear from you guys about this idea of Sankofa. Before I do that, though, we realized before we started, Kelly, who is my best friend and support here, happens to be wearing the Sankofa symbol. She did not know. She did not know what I was going to talk about today. I didn't share that with her. And in the way of spirit, the way things happen in on spaces and planes that we don't fully understand, Kelly ended up wearing the shirt. Kelly, you want to tell them how you ended up wearing
Yes, it was amazing. When I was thinking this morning about what I might wear, I thought, what would Dr. Aku enjoy for this moment? And I was drawn to this shirt and had no idea that Dr. Aku had selected this message for today. So it's another example of our connection and our spiritual connection, which is so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. So I just thought that was amazing, and we had to share that because I was shocked. I was like, what? How? And I was like, oh, maybe I did tell her that this is what I was going to talk about, because sometimes I do, but nope, it was a total surprise. By the way, she's the one that was also videotaping Grandma dancing with me, and you can hear her and my mom in the background there egging us on. So, that being said, who would like to share about either your personal history that you brought into the present to make you stronger, or your ancestral history, especially given that this is Women's History Month?
Well, I'll say something. That was spirit. I call that between you and your best friend wearing that, the connection that the two of you have, and the connection that your best friend has to your family, that she's a part of your family. That's beautiful. And to see your grandmother, oh my God, it brings tears to my eyes because it makes me think of my family. It's the same way. First with my mom being sick with Alzheimer's and dementia, and we used to do the same thing. We played music with her and dance with her. And we used to do the same thing with my grandmother. That was just a big part of our family, just the dancing, the music, the food, the laughter, and the love. So when I think of this term, I wrote it down too, because I like to write down the terms. I love the terms that you always share, and I take it with me. But I'm taking that back to waking up and thinking about retiring and thinking back to my family and all the things that they enjoyed and they were able to do when they retired. So they didn't sit back and retire and unfortunately pass away, as some people do. They really started that second part of their journey. So that's what I'm doing. I'm remembering the things that they did with their life, my mom, and traveling and still doing community service and sharing love and laughter with family and friends. So that's what I'm thinking of with this term, to fetch what you forgot, to thinking about all of the things that I may have overlooked, but thinking back to those memories and writing them down so that I don't forget.
Capturing them. That's
So
wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you.
Would anyone else like to share? What I love about Indinkra symbols is there's so much, that we can get out of them. Mom, would you like to share?
I would love to. Thank you. I need a time limit.
Okay, I will pull you back in when it's time. Go for it.
Thank you. And we're talking about what we do to calm ourselves or well, I've learned how to deep breathe through you. I think about the things that have challenged me, that I have come through. Yesterday, and sometimes it's the simple things, but they'll throw me off the rails. Washing dishes, water was on the floor, and I discovered that a pipe under the sink burst. It didn't burst, but water was leaking, and it was like, oh no. I thought about going downstairs to the woman downstairs. How do I take care of this? Well, I took care of it. I bailed the water out. I mopped the floor. The pipe will be taken care of today. But before, I would have just thrown up my hands and been like Chicken Little, running and squawking and crying. And oh my God, why is this happening to me? Some things, sometimes it's the big thing, it's the little thing, but you just take a breath, calm down, and say, this too shall pass. It's okay. I've been through worse. I'll be through better, and it's okay. But I just pull myself back to the moment, because I can just think about, oh my goodness, this is Hurricane Sandy. No, it's not. It's water on the kitchen floor. That's all it is. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mom, for sharing. And yes, not catastrophizing, right? That's the word we use in psychology when you take something and you make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And one of the best ways, as my mom just said, is staying in the moment, returning to the moment, like being in this moment and dealing with whatever is in this moment, as opposed to making it bigger and bigger and bigger than what it is, or casting off into the future into what it could be, when you have really just now and dealing with what is. Would anybody else like to share?
I just want to say briefly is about family and grandmas, and my mom's mom. I never met my dad's mother, who died before I was born. Who actually also had Alzheimer's. So it's always sort of something in my dad's mind, and so I feel for you. I'm sorry to hear that someone here is dealing with that. Um, but my the flip side was my mom's mom was probably also one of the smartest women I've ever met, who maybe didn't have the college education or the fancy letters, or or the opportunities that we now have, of course. But she was so smart, and just the memories I mainly have of her is we would watch Jeopardy together. And so my mom and her and I, she lived in the city, but we spent a lot of time together because my mom worked, so I was always there. And anyway, and she would just know everything, and I just don't understand how she knew everything. It could be science, it could be history, literature, and she just knew it. It was a rare thing she didn't know my mom knew, because my mom is also very well read, and just does the crossword puzzle. And I don't know. I can go to college for another 8 years. I still won't be able to do a crossword puzzle. I don't know how people do it. I don't know if it's a brain thing, but anyway. But that was my grandmother. She did the crossword puzzle. Even the day before she passed away, we were in her hospital bed, when their hospital room, she was lying in her bed, and Jeopardy was on, and she, of course, got Final Jeopardy, and that's really sort of my final memory of her. Even though I was actually blessed enough to be with her when she passed away, my mom and I were both there. My mom was at the hospital, and she called me, and I just left work, said sorry everybody, like literally walked out of a patient's room and just left. And we were very blessed to all be together. But I don't want to remember her dying. I want to remember her the night before getting Final Jeopardy. And I'm probably, look at me, I'm even talking more than Brenda. But there's one final little thing with spiritual connections. I, not as much now, but when the children were younger, I would have these vivid dreams of my grandmother being with my children. Just simple, stupid stuff, sitting in the living room while they played blocks or something. But it felt really, really like she was there. I mean, and I know I'm a science person. I know, oh, that's not possible, but I kind of don't really feel like that's not possible. I really feel, she is there, and hopefully, my kids can be half as smart as her. She was brilliant.
Thank you so much, Hillary. Thank you for that. The thought of how our history, that our grandparents can be with us. And definitely African spiritual traditions believe that our ancestors are with us, and that that ancestral, love, protection is there for us and for our children. So I definitely think that grandma is watching over your little ones. And without evidence to the contrary, why not believe that? Especially if it brings you comfort, why not believe that? Until we know for sure, then I'm going to go with our ancestors are there for us and protecting us and loving us even from the other side. Kelly, you want to say something?
Yes, my great grandmother was 105 when she died, and her children were in their 90s. And she was the first person who was born who was not in slavery in our family line. And she taught me so much about living a long, prosperous life. But the thing that I want to highlight today is the eating habits, because she really was essentially vegan. And it wasn't a thing back then to be vegan, but she just ate fruit and vegetables most of the days, greens, turnips, greens. And that was part of her key that she taught. And then I'd like to add something that you've taught me, Dr. Aku, that you always talk about so beautifully and effectively in the lives of all the people that you touch, is to focus on the positive. So the one fun example that I love is that one day, we were together in my kitchen, and I was reaching for something, and some dishes fell, and one of them broke. And I was like, oh my gosh, looking down, I was so upset. And she said, Dr. Aku said, well, at least all three of them didn't break. And it was such an automatic response. And I thought, wow, that's such a great perspective. It's a wonderful key to inner peace that I have adopted since then. So thank you for that.
Thank you for that and that story. And it tickles me that you call me Dr. Aku, because she doesn't call me Dr. Aku outside of this. I'm just Ajwa. But yes, I do remember that story fondly, and how surprised you were at how automatic that was. And I didn't even think about it. I definitely, optimism is something that I don't know if I was born with it. I guess only my mom would be able to say, have I always been this optimistic, Mom?
Definitely. And a can-do person, always. I can do it. I can do it. Why did you open my potato chips? I can do it. When you ate potato chips.
So I guess I was born optimistic, but I definitely find that focusing on the positive helps me so much and helps others so much. And I remember, actually, I was debating over whether to bring this up, but it seems to be a perfect time. I remember being confused by my patients who would come in and be so focused on the negative, like, well, what if? I had one woman who was contemplating going back to school. She was unhappy in her job I think she was an assistant. She was a teacher. She was unhappy with her job as a teacher. Didn't feel like she was paid well for teaching. She taught little ones, and she was contemplating going back to get a certification so she could do one-on-one stuff with them and get paid more and have more flexibility. But the idea of going back to school, so she came up with every single thing that could go wrong. What if there's a snowstorm and I can't get to school? this was August when we were talking about this. But what is there is a blizzard, like all of the things that could go wrong. And I found myself so confused about why she would focus on that. And so finally I asked, why do you focus on everything that could go wrong? And she said, well, I want to prepare myself for being disappointed. And then I asked her, well, does that really work? You know, focusing on all that goes wrong. And then if something bad happens, do you really feel prepared for disappointment? She's like, no, I really just feel disappointed. I was like, okay, so then if this is not working, let's find a new way. Let's focus on all that could go right. And that doesn't mean that you don't prepare. Like I have life insurance and, I have car insurance and all the other insurances, but I don't, once I prepare for tragedy, once I do what needs to be done, then I focus on all that can go right, all of the wonderful things that can happen. And this woman, by the way, did go back to school after we kind of shift her mindset. She went back to school and she absolutely loves doing one-on work. I don't remember exactly what the job is called, but she loves doing this one-on-one with children. She is making a lot more. She has more flexibility in her schedule, and she really enjoys connecting with the kids in this way. She feels like she's more effective in helping them in that way than she was trying to teach a whole class. So she ended up, it all worked out fine. And guess what? When there was a snowstorm, they closed school. or she got the notes from somebody else. Like we figured it all out and it all went just fine. Mom, did you want to say something else?
I do. One of your aunts who is not on the Zoom, but she's, thank God, with us, from my friend from high school, she says it didn't happen. She was once in her car, water, she went into a pothole. She didn't know it was so deep. She couldn't get out of the car. Finally, she did force herself. She was able to open the door. She forgot she had a Paul ping hammer or whatever you call it to break the window, but she forced the door. And she said, I got out of the car and I said, I didn't drown. It didn't happen. She said, so she uses that. It didn't happen. You're walking down the street, you trip, you didn't break your leg. It didn't happen. Things happen, but sometimes it just does not happen. So this is one of the things that has stayed with me. It didn't happen. I can think about it happening. Thoughts are not facts. I can think it up, but it didn't happen. And I'm so glad you used that example with the young lady. They closed the schools, they
And she
they
was
closed
fine.
the schools.
No, thank you. Yes, and thoughts exactly. So when we catastrophize, we create these thoughts of things that could happen, the worst case scenarios. But the reality is, thoughts are not facts, but thoughts also create energy. And when we start having those kinds of thoughts, we're now creating energy of anxiety, which is more likely to draw to us those kinds of experiences. At least that's my understanding of how energy works in psychology, the energy of thoughts works. So if I'm going to draw anything to me, I want to draw the positive. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have negative things happen, but even when, for example, the last big negative thing that happened to me is I was rushing and I slipped and busted my mouth open. And that's been my inspiration for my word of the year, to move slower, to have patience. But even when that happened, I went straight to, this could have been so much worse, right? I did hurt my mouth, but I could have, really got a concussion. I could have had to go to the hospital. Like everything could have been so much worse. And just going to that, okay, well, yes, I'm in pain, and yes, my mouth was all busted up, and my tongue is still not 100% healed. But going to that space of, but I'm okay. This could have been worse, helps me and has always helped me. And so finding that, bringing that, the wisdom from our personal past, the past of our ancestors, the past of the elders that we've known, and bringing that to the present to help us create a better future is what Sankofa is all about. So let's do our affirmation and our breath square, because we actually used up all of our time today. And I just thank you all for sharing. It's always so wonderful to be in this space sharing these experiences with you all. So today's affirmation is: I use the wisdom from my personal and ancestral past to create my inner peace. I use the wisdom from my personal and ancestral past to create my inner peace. Okay, so now I am going to, I'm trying to pin myself so that it's on speaker view so that you guys can all see me as I do the breath square. We are going to do a breath square so that I can send you all off back to your lives with another little experience of inner peace. If you haven't done this with me before, it's very simple. You're going to breathe in for a slow count of 4. You're going to hold the air in your lungs for a slow count of 4. You're going to exhale for a slow count of 4, and then you're going to wait before you inhale again for a slow count of 4. I'm going to lead this by drawing a square in the air with my finger. You can follow my finger, you can draw a square with your eyes around whatever screen you're watching on, or you can close your eyes and just listen to the sound of my voice and focus on your breathing. Here we go. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Return to breathing as usual. Would anybody like to share any final thoughts? Any final thoughts about that experience of doing the breath square, or our experience sharing this time and space together today? Okay, well, thank you all so much. Oh, Susan, did you want to
Yeah,
share?
yeah. I just wanted to thank you so much, Dr. Cool. This was like perfect timing for me to be here, and it was wonderful seeing your mom and seeing that video of your grandmother. Just seeing that whole family energy. It means a lot to me, and the connection to our ancestors, which is empowering for me, uplifting for me. And I wrote down, I took notes of all of your words that catastrophize catastrophizing. Yeah, that's something that I've been talking to my therapist actually this week about. And so I'm into mindfulness, and so I'm making that connect. She said, "You have the tools, just use it with mindfulness." So I thank you for just adding more fuel to what she was saying. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Would anybody else like to share? All right. Yes, Hillary.
Just also want to say thank you. Just I'm so happy to be a part of this, and I can't wait till the next one. And I love the symbolism, and it's just such a different perspective for me. And just thank you.
Thank you. Mom?
Yes, I just want to thank you for starting this Saturday off in a great way. I feel relaxed. I'm going to walk outside even if it's raining, because that helps my mental health also. Just go outside, see the babies in the strollers, the people walking the dogs to the farmer's market, to the park, and then through the farmer's market. It's all
You
good.
want to come walk my dog in the rain so I don't have to? Because I'm not really looking forward to that.
All right, I'll be right up there, Hillary. Tell the boys to put their coats on. I'm coming.
Oh, yeah, right.
Thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you, Mom.
All right.
I love you. Have a good walk, Mom. And thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful day, everyone. I wish you all peace and blessings. And I look forward to seeing you all next month. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Love you.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a
Bye.
wonderful weekend, everyone.
You-
Bye-bye.
Bye now.